Hello viewers, this is Just Peg Network TV, a place where you can get the latest information about Nigerian news. And now the news in details. Ash and SARS, crocodile smile. Military operation will backfire protesters, others warn Buhari. Soldiers will join protests. We won't stop. Campaigners dare federal government. We won't allow descent into anarchy, federal government tells protesters. Ash and SARS protesters, the Alliance for Survivor of COVID-19 and Beyond, human rights groups and lawyers on Sunday warned the federal government against deploying troops to stop Nigerians campaigning for police reform. They warned the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, that such an action would backfire. Campaigner demanding the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, among others' requests, have been holding rallies across the major cities of the country for the past 12 days. The Nigerian Army had on Saturday said it would begin Operation Crocodile Smile, aimed at tackling cyber warfare and insurgency. Ash and SARS protesters and other groups interpreted this as a move by Buhari's regime to deploy troops to quell demonstrations against SARS. However, the army, in a statement titled Exercise Crocodile Smile 6, has nothing to do with Ash and SARS protests whatsoever, said the operation was not targeted at the protesters. We won't allow descent into anarchy, says federal government. A few hours after the army issued its statement, the federal government, through the Minister of Information and Culture Alhaji Lai Mohammed, said no government would fold its arms and allow anarchy. Mohammed, in an interview with the Nigerian Television Authority, said that while the original conveners of the protest might have meant well, it was obvious that they were no longer in control of the initiative. The minister said a peaceful protest was an integral part of democracy, adding that was why the federal government had treated the protesters in a very civilized manner. He stated, but if you look at what happened to the governors of Osun State, it has gone completely beyond a peaceful protest against the excesses and abuse of power by the police. There is nowhere in the world where a government would fold its arms and allow the country to descend into anarchy. We are no longer dealing with Ash and SARS, but a volatile situations that can lead to anarchy if the government does not take some very firm steps to protect the lives and livelihood of innocent Nigerians. Minister cautioned protesters against breaching national security. Also on Sunday, the federal government cautioned anti-SARS campaigners against breaching national security. The Minister of Defense, Major General Bachar Magachi, gave the warning when the National Coordinator Buhari Campaign Organization, Danladi Pasali, led the executive members of the group on a courtesy visit to him at the Ministry of Defense Abuja. This was contained in a statement titled, Defense Minister Cautions Protesters Against Undermining National Security Issues by a Special Assistant on Media and Publicity Mohammed Abdulkader. The statement stated, the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashar Magachi, has cautioned Ash and SARS protesters against breaching national security. But the Ash and SARS protesters said that the deployment of troops would not stop them from continuing with their daily rallies and demand for police reform. They said any move to deploy military force would backfire. Speaking to the Punch on Sunday, a leading members of the Ash and SARS movement, Deji Adeyanju, said the federal government could not stop people from protesting. He noted that the military had no constitutional authority to interfere with the right of Nigerians to freedom of assembly and speech. He said, I am a democracy. He said, in a democracy, the army has no locus to interfere with freedoms of assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. They have no single role to play. But if the president wants to truncate democracy by inviting the army, then we will know. He has suspended the constitution. You can't stop the people from gathering in a democracy. He insisted that the government had not done anything
on police reforms and dismissed as false claims that the police authority had disbanded SARS. Åñårçh, who is the convener, concerned Nigerians said protests are not stopping even if they deploy the army. They would further ensure that more people come out for the protest. The more force they use, the more people would join the protest. If the president deployed the troops, you would be surprised at the members of military officers that would join the protesters in solidarity. They are just going to worsen the situation. Åñårçh's protesters at the Punch Place, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Ogun State on Sunday. On the claim by government that it had acceded to the protesters' 5-point demand, the campaigner stated it's 1 week after the purported ban and by now we should be seeing the specifics of the reform in the police. As far as Nigerians are concerned, the government has not done anything. The DPOs of the police stations in Åñårçh that supervised the killings of the protesters is still in charge of the station. He is still holding sway there. We would drag Buratai to ICC if soldiers kill protesters, says Falana-led group. On its part, ASCAP, led by human rights activist Femi Falana-san, vowed to drag the chief of the army staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, to the International Criminal Court in The Hague if any of the Åñårçh protesters was killed by any soldiers. The group, in a statement by Falana titled Åñårçh Kill Protesters Face International Criminal Court, ASCAP cautions Buratai, urged the federal government to withdraw the plan to use soldiers to quell the protests. The ASCAP said Buhari should not invite soldiers to resolve a purely democratic issues that calls for dialogue and constructive engagement. It noted that protests had common futures across the world as seen in Hong Kong, the United States, France, South Africa, Belarus, and Sudan. The group added that in no instance were soldiers deployed to suppress protesters. Nigeria wants to set another ugly precedent in world history, the group said. It reminded the federal government that Operation Crocodile Smile had been declared illegal by a Nigerian court with competent jurisdictions following legal actions filed by Falana. It added that the efforts by the Chief of Army Staff to challenge the order by approaching the Court of Appeal failed. The coalition said every bullet that goes out from the barrel of the gun is owned by the people of Nigeria. It is a crime under international law to release these bullets with the hope of taking human lives. It is unfortunate that the Nigerian government is sending a signal to the military that it has a role to play in a purely civil matter. The group said it was already monitoring and compiling lists of all rights extrajudicial killings associated with the protest, and that Buratai or any soldiers involved in any killings would be held personally responsible at the International Court. He further said, the plan to deploy soldiers is dangerous. It will push Nigerians into the red light district of global reckoning. Sending soldiers after school children and leaders of tomorrow shows that future we anticipate for the teeming populations of young men and women who have taken to the streets to protest against a system that buries their dreams and charter their potentials and aspirations. Nigeria authorities said on Saturday that soldiers will be deployed this week to bring an end to the week-long demonstrations over police brutality. We urge President Muhammadu Buhari not to use soldiers to quell a peaceful civil protest. The protesters have been lawful. The few cases of violence were associated with armed dogs disrupting the protests coupled with the shooting of protesters by security operatives. ASCAP said the protests were against symptoms of a system defeat, institutional corruption and political exclusion, adding that the earlier the tiers of government address the problem, the better. It said the political class is isolating Nigerians from governance. State resources are squandered by a few corrupt people who over the years have failed to address institutional riots that continues to fuel anger and desperations of the toiling people. The group added that the bottom of the crisis of nations building and insecurity in Nigeria was corruption, mismanagement of public funds, and incompetence at all levels of governance. Well, so viewers, what do you think about this? What is your own take? The reality is that they should not even try to bring any soldiers at home because it is dangerous and it will not solve any issues. It will not even solve any matters at all. I'm telling you the truth. So guys, kindly drop your comments in the comment section below. God bless you. Bye.